It was a night that seemed to stretch endlessly as I watched them from the corner table of the restaurant. Victoria, my wife, was laughing softly as she leaned into Artem, her business partner. The way he looked at her with that intense gaze, the way he touched her arm, it was all a cruel joke at my expense. My chest tightened, and the world around me seemed to blur into a background haze of red. I had always prided myself on my calm demeanor, on my ability to handle stress with a cool head. But this was different. The realization that the woman I loved had betrayed me, and with someone I had once trusted, was more than I could bear. My mind raced through a whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, and a cold, calculated determination for revenge. It started with the small things. I knew the inner workings of Victoria's business well enough to understand which deals were crucial for its success. My plan was simple yet ruthless: sabotage. I began subtly interfering in key contracts, spreading misinformation, and ensuring that every detail I touched would unravel. My goal was clear: destroy Artem's standing and, by extension, Victoria's business. Days turned into weeks, and the effects of my interference began to show. Contracts that should have been closed were falling apart. Deals that were once promising turned into disastrous failures. I watched with grim satisfaction as Artem's reputation took a hit, and Victoria's once thriving company started to flounder. Eventually, Artem's position became untenable. The company had no choice but to let him go. Victoria was devastated, and I tried to hide my smirk as she struggled to pick up the pieces. Her frustration with Artem's departure quickly turned into suspicion and anger directed at me. I had to maintain my facade of support, even as her bitterness towards me grew. Despite my initial satisfaction, the repercussions of my actions soon became clear. With Artem gone, the business began to crumble further. I found myself in a situation I hadn't anticipated. My own career was entangled in the wreckage I had created. The instability of Victoria's company was having a ripple effect, and my own ambitions seemed to be slipping through my fingers. Victoria's anger turned to blame. She accused me of everything from incompetence to sabotage. I tried to salvage what I could, but each effort seemed to dig me deeper into a pit of failure. My plans to restore my career were thwarted at every turn. The more I fought to fix things, the worse they seemed to become. As the months dragged on, the weight of my actions became unbearable. The business I had hoped to undermine had become a mess, and so had my life. My relationship with Victoria was beyond repair, and the shattered remains of my career were a constant reminder of the consequences of my vengeance. Victoria decided to leave, and I was left alone with the wreckage of my ambitions. The betrayal that had started this chain of events now seemed like a distant memory compared to the devastation I had wrought. My quest for revenge had cost me everything, leaving me with nothing but a profound emptiness that I couldn't escape. Victoria's anger was palpable when she confronted me about the latest fiasco with the company's financials. She stormed into the living room, her eyes blazing with fury. "How could you let this happen, Michael?" she demanded, her voice sharp and accusing. I could only stand there, my heart racing as I tried to maintain a calm exterior. "I don't know, Victoria. I'm just as shocked as you are," I replied, my voice steady but empty. Inside, I was fighting to keep my composure as I listened to her tear into me. Over the next few weeks, the situation only worsened. Victoria's frustration turned into a relentless investigation into the company's financial troubles. She hired forensic accountants and demanded answers from every department. My interference was becoming more apparent, and I had to be increasingly cautious to avoid detection. My days were consumed with damage control. I had to ensure that my sabotage wasn't traced back to me. Every time Victoria uncovered a new problem, I was there with a helpful solution, masking my own role in the chaos. I became adept at spinning the situation to deflect suspicion, all while the business continued to spiral out of control. The tension at home was unbearable. Victoria and I barely spoke, and when we did, it was always about the crumbling business. Our conversations were strained and filled with unspoken resentment. I found myself on edge, knowing that any slip could reveal my secret. One evening, as I sat alone in the study, the weight of what I had done hit me with full force. The lavish office space, the high-stakes deals, the promise of success, all of it was disintegrating. The very business I had aimed to destroy was dragging me down with it. Victoria's decision to fire Artem had made her enemies in the industry. She was struggling to regain her footing, and the fallout was affecting not just her career but also mine. Opportunities I had once been confident about were slipping away. The more I sabotaged, the more it seemed to backfire. The financial strain on the company was taking its toll. Victoria's health began to deteriorate under the constant pressure, and her once vibrant spirit seemed to fade. Seeing her like this, part of me began to question the morality of my actions. I had wanted revenge, but now I faced a reality where my own ambition was intertwined with her suffering. Desperation led Victoria to make a last-ditch effort to save her business. She brought in a crisis management team, hoping they could turn things around. The team was efficient and effective, but it was too late to reverse the damage I had caused. Victoria's frustration grew as she realized that even the best professionals couldn't fix the mess. I watched from the sidelines, feeling both a grim satisfaction and an overwhelming guilt. My plan had succeeded in part, but it had also destroyed everything I had once held dear. The more Victoria fought to save her company, the more I realized that my actions had irrevocably altered our lives. In the end, it wasn't just her business that was suffering, it was our relationship, our trust, and our future. The reality of what I had done was setting in, and I was left with the sobering realization that revenge had cost me far more than I ever anticipated. The days following Victoria's decision to fire Artem were the darkest of my life. I had hoped that removing him would bring her closer to me, but instead, it had plunged us into a vortex of despair. The more she struggled, the more I felt my own ambitions slipping away, buried under the wreckage I had helped create. Victoria's resolve was unshakable, despite the mounting pressures. She threw herself into salvaging her business with an intensity that was both admirable and heartbreaking. I watched as she sacrificed her health, her time, and her sanity in a desperate bid to save what was left. Each day she came home more exhausted, her eyes shadowed with sleepless nights and stress. In contrast, my own career was faltering. I had hoped to reclaim my position in the industry once Artem was out of the way, but instead, my name had become synonymous with failure. The connections I once had were now tainted by the scandal surrounding Victoria's business. Every attempt I made to revive my career was met with rejection or indifference. My previous achievements seemed meaningless compared to the ruin I had wrought. Victoria's attempts to stabilize her company were relentless but ineffective. She brought in consultants, restructured departments, and even tried to renegotiate contracts, but the damage was too extensive. The company's financial health was deteriorating, and it was clear that my sabotage had been more devastating than I had initially thought. One evening, Victoria sat down beside me on the couch, her face drawn and tired. "Michael," she began, her voice cracking slightly, "I don't know what's happening. Nothing is working. I've done everything I can, but it's like we're fighting against a tidal wave." I could see the desperation in her eyes, a stark contrast to the anger and resentment that had characterized our previous conversations. I wanted to comfort her, but guilt gnawed at me. I was the one who had caused this chaos, and the weight of my actions was becoming unbearable. As Victoria's frustration grew, so did her suspicion towards me. Despite my best efforts to maintain the pretense of a supportive husband, there were moments when I could see the doubt in her eyes. The cracks in my facade were becoming more apparent, and I feared that she might uncover the truth about my involvement. One night, as I lay awake in bed, my thoughts were consumed by the wreckage of my plans. My initial satisfaction with having removed Artem had long since faded. The fallout from my actions had shattered my own life, leaving me with nothing but a hollow sense of accomplishment. Victoria's health continued to deteriorate. She began to neglect her own well-being, eating poorly and sleeping even less. The stress was taking a toll on her physically, and it was heartbreaking to see her this way. I knew that I was partly to blame for her condition, but admitting that felt like a betrayal of the anger and resentment that had fueled my actions. The final blow came when Victoria's major investor withdrew their support, citing the instability of the company. This decision marked the beginning of the end for her business. It was a moment of defeat that I could not escape, and the realization that I had played a role in this devastation crushed me. Victoria's resignation was inevitable. She decided to step away from her business, but not before one final confrontation. "Michael," she said, her voice cold and distant, "I don't know who you've become, but I can't stay here any longer. I need to find a way to rebuild my life, even if it means doing it without you." Her words were a devastating blow, but I knew they were justified. The very actions I had taken to exact revenge had resulted in the destruction of everything I had once held dear. As she packed her things, I was left to confront the full extent of my failures, both personal and professional. Victoria's departure was the end of a chapter I had hoped would restore my own ambitions, but instead, it marked the beginning of my own downfall. I was left alone with the ruins of my plans and the realization that my quest for revenge had cost me more than I could ever have imagined. The silence in the house was deafening after Victoria left. The empty rooms, once filled with arguments and tension, now echoed with a haunting quiet that seemed to amplify the weight of my guilt. I wandered through the house, each room a painful reminder of the life we once shared, a life that I had irrevocably shattered. Without Victoria, my existence felt hollow. The very business I had hoped to see crumble had become my own personal disaster. My attempts to salvage my career had been in vain. The fallout from my actions had tainted every opportunity that came my way. It was clear now that the collapse of Victoria's company had taken down my ambitions with it. I tried to distract myself with work, but nothing seemed to work. My once sharp focus had dulled, and my motivation was gone. Meetings that used to be routine now felt like an uphill battle. My colleagues whispered behind my back, and opportunities that once seemed promising were now distant dreams. Every failure was a stark reminder of the price of my vengeance. Months passed, and the house remained unchanged, an eerie monument to my failures. I had hoped to find solace or perhaps some semblance of normalcy. But instead, I found myself sinking deeper into despair. I threw myself into various projects, hoping to reclaim some semblance of success, but each attempt was met with frustration and further setbacks. One evening, I came across a letter from Victoria. It was dated shortly after she left, and her words were a mix of sorrow and resignation. She spoke of starting anew, of trying to rebuild her life from the ground up. Her message was a painful reminder of how far I had fallen, how much I had lost in my quest for revenge. The letter made me reflect on my actions more deeply than ever before. Victoria had been the center of my world, and in trying to destroy something she cared about, I had destroyed everything that mattered to me. Her departure was not just the end of our marriage, it was the end of my hopes and dreams. I reached out to old friends and contacts, trying to rebuild the relationships I had neglected. But the trust I once enjoyed was gone. People were wary of me, knowing only the rumors about my role in the collapse of Victoria's business. Every attempt to reconnect was met with cold distance. The weight of my actions became increasingly unbearable. I sought professional help, trying to make sense of the turmoil that consumed me. Therapy sessions offered little solace, as I struggled to reconcile the person I had become with the person I once was. Each session was a reminder of the shattered man I had become. One day, as I sat in my office, the last vestiges of my former career crumbling around me, I realized that I had to face the consequences of my actions. The dreams of grandeur I had once harbored were now just distant memories, and the only thing left was to confront the reality of my choices. I started making amends where I could, though I knew that some damage could never be undone. I tried to be honest about my past, acknowledging my mistakes and the hurt I had caused. It was a small step towards redemption, but it felt like a hollow victory. In the end, the price of my vengeance had been far higher than I could have ever imagined. The ambitions I had sought to protect were gone, replaced by a profound sense of loss and regret. The journey I had undertaken to seek revenge had ultimately led me to a place where I had to confront the emptiness of my own existence and the irreversible damage I had caused. Weeks turned into months, and I found myself adrift in a sea of regret and self-pity. The remnants of my career were nothing more than faded memories of a time when I had a future full of potential. My attempts to rebuild had proven futile, and the sense of failure was all-encompassing. One crisp autumn morning, as I walked through the park near my home, I spotted a familiar face. It was Rebecca, an old friend from my earlier business days. She looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and sympathy. "Michael, it's been a while," she said, her tone gentle but laden with unspoken questions. We met for coffee, and as we talked, I found myself opening up about the turmoil I had been through. Rebecca listened quietly, her eyes reflecting the depth of her concern. "I knew something was off," she admitted, "but I had no idea it was this bad." Her words were both comforting and jarring. It felt strange to talk about my failures so openly, but it also felt like a small step towards acknowledging the full extent of what I had lost. Rebecca's support was a balm to my wounded pride, but it didn't erase the damage I had done. As the days went by, I found some solace in reconnecting with old acquaintances. Slowly, I started to regain a semblance of normalcy. Though the scars of my actions remained, I continued to search for new opportunities, but the road to recovery was long and fraught with obstacles. One day, I received a call from a former colleague, Tom. He offered me a chance to consult on a small project, a modest role compared to what I had been used to, but it was a start. I accepted gratefully, hoping that this could be the beginning of a new chapter. Working on the project was a humbling experience. I had to start from scratch, proving myself once more. Each small success was a victory, but also a reminder of how far I had fallen. The work was grueling, but it gave me a sense of purpose that I had been missing. Despite the progress, the void left by Victoria's departure was ever present. I would often find myself reflecting on our past, haunted by the choices that had led us to this point. The realization that my quest for revenge had not only destroyed her business but also my own future weighed heavily on me. In a moment of introspection, I began to understand the true cost of my actions. My pursuit of revenge had been driven by a desire to see Victoria suffer, but instead, it had only led to my own downfall. The ambition that once fueled me had become a destructive force that left nothing but regret in its wake. As I continued to work on the project and rebuild my life, I reached out to Victoria one last time. I wrote a heartfelt letter, not seeking reconciliation, but offering an apology for the pain I had caused. It was a small gesture, but it was an attempt to make amends for the irreversible damage I had inflicted. Victoria never responded to my letter, but I hoped that somewhere, she might find some peace. I knew that the damage between us was beyond repair, but at least I had taken a step towards acknowledging my role in the destruction of our lives. In the end, my journey through vengeance had left me with a profound lesson. Revenge, I realized, was not just a destructive force against others, but also a corrosive force that could erode one's own soul. As I worked to rebuild my life, I faced each day with the knowledge that the quest for retribution had exacted a heavy toll, and that the road to redemption was long and uncertain. The days blended into weeks, and the routine of my new life began to take shape. The small consulting project I had taken on was slowly coming to fruition, and with each success, I felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was progress. A sign that perhaps I could claw my way back from the abyss I had created. The project involved working with a new team, and although I was initially apprehensive about re-entering the professional world, I found solace in the fresh start. The work was challenging but invigorating, and the team was supportive. It was a stark contrast to the backstabbing environment I had left behind. One evening, as I reviewed the project's progress, my phone buzzed with a message from Rebecca. "Can we meet? I have something important to discuss," she wrote. I agreed, intrigued by the urgency in her tone. We met at a small cafe, and as we settled into our seats, Rebecca wasted no time. "Michael, I've been talking to some contacts, and there might be an opportunity for you," she said. "It's not a high-profile position, but it's a start. I think you should consider it." Her offer was a lifeline. The position was at a modest but reputable firm that specialized in turnaround consulting, perfect for someone like me who was trying to rebuild from the ground up. I was grateful for Rebecca's support and agreed to explore the opportunity further. The interview process was rigorous, and I was once again reminded of how far I had fallen. The questions were probing, the competition fierce, and the scrutiny intense. Each step felt like a test of my resilience and my ability to overcome the mistakes of my past. When I finally received the offer letter, it was a bittersweet victory. The position was lower in rank than what I had been accustomed to, but it was a chance to prove myself again. I accepted the offer with a mix of relief and trepidation, knowing that this was my opportunity to start anew. As I began my new role, the work was demanding but rewarding. The challenges were different from those I had faced before, and the success of the turnaround project gave me a renewed sense of purpose. I started to rebuild my reputation, one small achievement at a time. Despite the progress, the shadows of my past continued to loom over me. Victoria remained a distant memory, and though I had made amends in my own way, the reality of our broken relationship was always present. I found myself wondering if there would ever be a way to truly atone for the pain I had caused. One evening, as I walked home from the office, I saw a family at a park, playing together and laughing. The sight stirred something within me, longing for a sense of normalcy and connection that I had lost. I yearned for a future where I could find happiness and fulfillment without the weight of my past mistakes dragging me down. The journey of rebuilding my life was far from over. Each day presented new challenges and opportunities. And with each success, I felt a small measure of redemption. The path was arduous, but it was one I had to navigate to move forward. I continued to focus on my work, determined to make the most of this new chance. I understood now that the quest for revenge had only led to my own downfall, and the road to redemption required not just professional success, but personal growth and acceptance of my past. As I worked to rebuild my life, I held on to the hope that someday, the scars of my actions would fade. And I would find a way to move forward with integrity and purpose. For now, I faced each day with the knowledge that the journey to redemption was a long and difficult one, but it was one that I had to undertake if I ever hoped to find peace. As the months passed, my new role became more than just a job. It was a lifeline that helped me regain a sense of self-worth. The turnaround project I had been working on was nearing completion, and the firm's management was pleased with the results. It wasn't a glamorous position, but it was a solid foundation on which I could rebuild my career. Despite the professional progress, my personal life remained in disarray. The absence of Victoria was a constant reminder of the fallout from my past actions. I tried to fill the void with work and social interactions, but the emptiness lingered. There were moments when I would catch myself reminiscing about our time together, regretting the choices that had led to our separation. One particularly quiet evening, as I sat alone in my apartment, my phone rang. It was a call from an unknown number. Hesitant but curious, I answered. To my surprise, it was an old colleague from the industry, Janet, who had heard about my recent work. "Michael, I heard about the turnaround project you led. It's impressive," Janet said, her tone genuinely impressed. "There's an opportunity I think you'd be perfect for. It's a bit of a risk, but it could be just what you need." I was intrigued but also apprehensive. The risk Janet mentioned was a new venture, a startup looking for someone with a background in business recovery. The position promised more responsibility and potential, but it came with uncertainties. I weighed the options carefully, knowing that this could either be a significant step forward or another potential failure. After much contemplation, I decided to take the plunge. The opportunity was too promising to ignore, and I needed a challenge to truly move on from my past. The transition to the new role was intense. The startup environment was dynamic and demanding, and the stakes were high. It required a different set of skills and a level of adaptability that pushed me out of my comfort zone. The initial months were a whirlwind. I faced a steep learning curve, navigating through uncharted territory while trying to apply the lessons I had learned from my previous failures. My work consumed me, and I often found myself working late into the night. The pressures were immense, but so were the rewards. Slowly but surely, the efforts began to pay off. The startup began to show signs of progress, and my role in its development became increasingly vital. It was exhilarating to be part of something from the ground up, to see tangible results from my hard work. The success of the venture was a significant boost to my confidence, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a genuine sense of accomplishment. Despite the positive changes in my professional life, the personal void remained. I continued to reflect on the impact of my actions and the lessons I had learned. The journey to redeem myself and rebuild my life was far from over. But I was making strides towards a more stable and fulfilling future. One day, as I reviewed the progress of the startup, I received an email that stopped me in my tracks. It was a brief note from Victoria. The subject line simply read, "Hello." My heart raced as I opened the message. Victoria's words were carefully chosen, expressing a desire to catch up and discuss the past. Her email was both unexpected and daunting. It was a chance to perhaps gain closure or to confront the past in a way that could lead to healing. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I knew that engaging with her could be a pivotal moment in my journey towards redemption. As I prepared to respond, I realized that this was an opportunity to address the lingering shadows of my past. It was a chance to acknowledge the hurt I had caused and to take responsibility for my actions. Regardless of the outcome, it was a step towards reconciling with the past and moving forward with integrity. The email from Victoria sat in my inbox for days before I mustered the courage to reply. It was a simple hello, but it carried the weight of years of unresolved feelings. I typed out a response, carefully choosing my words, and proposed a meeting to talk face to face. When the day of our meeting arrived, I was a bundle of nerves. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe, a place that had once been a regular spot for us. As I walked in, I felt a wave of nostalgia mixed with apprehension. I hadn't seen Victoria in months, and the thought of confronting our past was both daunting and necessary. Victoria was already there when I arrived. She looked different, more subdued, yet still the same woman I had known so well. Her expression was a mix of curiosity and apprehension. We greeted each other with a reserved hug and settled into a corner booth. We began with small talk, trying to ease into the conversation. "How have you been?" I asked, the words feeling hollow as I spoke them. Victoria sighed and took a sip of her coffee. "It's been a journey," she said softly. "I've been trying to rebuild, to find my footing again. It's not easy." The conversation shifted to the past. Victoria spoke of the challenges she faced after leaving her company and the difficult road to recovery. Her tone was reflective, and it was clear that she had been through a lot. As she talked, I felt the weight of my actions pressing down on me. The pain I had caused was more profound than I had ever realized. "I want to apologize," I said finally, my voice trembling slightly. "For everything that happened, for the hurt I caused you. I know I can't change the past, but I need you to know that I deeply regret my actions." Victoria looked at me with a mixture of sadness and surprise. "I've thought about what happened a lot," she admitted. "It wasn't just about the business. It was about trust, about the betrayal I felt. It's taken me a long time to come to terms with it all." We talked for hours, delving into the pain and misunderstandings that had defined our relationship. It was a cathartic experience for both of us. We acknowledged the hurt, but we also began to see how our actions had impacted one another in unexpected ways. The conversation didn't lead to reconciliation, but it offered a form of closure. Victoria and I both understood that our paths had diverged irreparably, but the dialogue allowed us to confront our past honestly. We parted ways with a sense of mutual respect, having faced the ghosts of our relationship together. After our meeting, I felt a profound sense of relief. Confronting Victoria and acknowledging my mistakes had been a significant step towards healing. The shadows of my past no longer loomed quite so large, and I could see a clearer path forward. As I walked back to my apartment, the weight of my actions felt lighter. I knew that the road to redemption was still long and challenging, but this conversation had given me a renewed sense of hope. It was a reminder that while the past could not be changed, taking responsibility and making amends was a crucial part of moving forward. With this new perspective, I continued to focus on my work with the startup, striving to build a future based on integrity and resilience. The journey was far from over, but I was beginning to see that redemption was not just about professional success, it was about personal growth and understanding. The path ahead was still uncertain, but I was determined to walk it with a sense of purpose and clarity. As the weeks went by, the fresh start with the startup continued to offer both challenges and rewards. The company began to gain traction, and the hard work was starting to pay off. Despite the progress, I was haunted by the lingering shadow of my past mistakes. The encounter with Victoria had given me some closure, but the impact of my actions was still very much a part of my daily life. One day, during a routine meeting, I received a surprising phone call from a former business associate, Claire. She had heard about the turnaround project I had been involved in and wanted to discuss a potential collaboration. Her interest was flattering and unexpected, especially given the current state of my career. Claire's call led to a series of meetings where we discussed various business opportunities. Her firm was looking for a strategic partner to help with a new venture that aligned closely with my skills and experiences. The project was ambitious and offered a chance to regain some of the prestige I had lost. I was both excited and apprehensive. The opportunity was promising, but I was wary of overextending myself. Balancing the demands of the startup while exploring a new venture was a daunting prospect. Nevertheless, I felt a growing sense of optimism. This was exactly the kind of challenge I needed to truly move forward. As I delved deeper into the potential collaboration, the project began to take shape. Claire and I worked closely, planning strategies and setting goals. The more involved I became, the more I realized how much I had missed being part of a dynamic business environment. The work was intense but invigorating, offering a glimpse of the professional success I had once known. During this period, I continued to reflect on the lessons I had learned from my past mistakes. My interactions with Claire and the new project gave me a renewed focus, but I remained mindful of the need for personal growth. I worked diligently to avoid the pitfalls that had previously led to my downfall. One evening, as I reviewed our progress, I received a text message from an unknown number. It was from Victoria. The message was brief but significant. "I've been following your progress and I see the positive changes. I hope you're doing well." Her words struck a chord with me. They were a reminder that while our paths had diverged, there was still a connection, however tenuous, between us. Victoria's acknowledgement of my efforts felt like a small but meaningful validation. It was a sign that, despite everything, there was a possibility of moving forward with some semblance of reconciliation. I decided to respond, expressing my gratitude for her message and my hope that she was finding her own path to recovery. It was a modest gesture, but it felt important to acknowledge the bridge that remained between us. As the collaboration with Claire's firm gained momentum, I found myself at a crossroads. The new project was demanding, but it offered a chance to rebuild my professional reputation. It was a critical moment, one that required balancing ambition with a mindful approach to avoid repeating past mistakes. In navigating this new chapter, I took extra care to maintain transparency and integrity. The lessons from my past had taught me the value of honesty and the importance of avoiding shortcuts that could jeopardize long-term success. The journey was still fraught with challenges, but I approached each day with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to making the most of this new opportunity. The path to redemption and professional recovery was ongoing, but the steps I had taken felt like significant progress. The collaboration with Claire's firm and the positive feedback from Victoria's message were reminders that while the past was inescapable, the future was still open to possibility. As I forged ahead, I carried with me the lessons of my past, determined to build a future defined by resilience and integrity. The months continued to roll by, and with each passing day, I found myself becoming more entrenched in the new venture with Claire. The project was thriving, and my role had become integral to its success. My professional life was showing signs of revitalization, a stark contrast to the chaos that had once defined it. Yet, despite the forward momentum, I couldn't shake the lingering effects of my past mistakes. The success of the new venture was bittersweet, serving as a reminder of how much had been lost and how long the road to recovery had been. I often wondered if I would ever fully escape the shadow of my previous actions. One evening, as I was working late, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was Claire. "I have something important to discuss," she said, her voice tinged with urgency. I agreed to meet her at a nearby cafe, curious about the nature of the call. When I arrived, Claire was already seated, her expression serious. "Michael, I've been approached by a major investor who's interested in our project," she said. "This is a significant opportunity, but it comes with its own set of challenges. We need to decide whether to accept their offer or continue on our current path." The prospect of securing major investment was exciting but daunting. It could propel the venture to new heights, but it also meant greater scrutiny and higher stakes. The decision was critical and required careful consideration. Claire and I spent hours discussing the implications, weighing the potential benefits against the risks. After much deliberation, we decided to move forward with the investor's offer. It was a bold move, one that signaled our commitment to taking the project to the next level. The decision marked a turning point in my professional journey, symbolizing not just a new phase for the venture but also a personal triumph over the setbacks I had faced. As we prepared for the transition, the pressure intensified. The increased visibility and expectations from the investor brought a new set of challenges. Late nights became even more frequent, and the stakes were higher. I was determined to prove myself, to show that the mistakes of my past did not define my future. In the midst of this whirlwind, I received another message from Victoria. This time, it was a more detailed update about her life and her ongoing efforts to rebuild. Her message was thoughtful and reflected a sense of personal growth. She spoke about finding new direction and purpose, and her words resonated deeply with me. Victoria's updates were a poignant reminder of the journey we had both been on. They reinforced the idea that while our paths had diverged, we had both been working towards recovery and renewal. It was a subtle but powerful acknowledgement of our shared struggles and growth. With the new investment secured and the project advancing, I felt a renewed sense of optimism. The venture was on track to achieve its goals. And the success was a testament to the resilience and hard work that had brought it to this point. It was a validation of my efforts and a symbol of the progress I had made. Despite the professional successes, I remained vigilant about maintaining the lessons I had learned. The experience had taught me the importance of integrity, transparency, and resilience. I continued to apply these principles diligently, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not repeat themselves. The journey towards redemption was ongoing, but each step forward felt like a victory. The new venture was not just a professional achievement, it was a personal milestone, a testament to the ability to rebuild and recover from the fallout of past decisions. As I looked towards the future, I felt a sense of hope and determination. The path ahead was still uncertain, but with each day, I was learning to embrace the challenges and opportunities with a renewed perspective. The lessons of the past had shaped me, but they no longer defined me. I was ready to face whatever came next with integrity and resolve. The venture with Claire's firm was gaining momentum, and the new investment was starting to show its potential. The project was on track, and the early results were promising. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of stability and accomplishment. My focus was solely on the venture, and I was determined to make it a success. Despite the professional progress, the remnants of my past continued to cast a long shadow. I had been working diligently to rebuild my career, but the emotional scars from the past lingered. One day, while reviewing financial reports, I received an unexpected call from an old friend, Mark. He was someone I hadn't spoken to in years, and his call stirred up a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Michael, I've been following your recent work," Mark said when I answered. "I wanted to reach out and see how you're doing. It's been a while since we've caught up." We decided to meet at a quiet restaurant, and as we sat down, Mark wasted no time in expressing his admiration for my recent achievements. "I heard about the turnaround project and the new venture," he said. "You've managed to turn things around impressively. How are you handling everything?" I appreciated Mark's kind words, but his praise also reminded me of the turbulence I had endured. "It's been a challenging journey," I admitted. "But I'm making progress. It's not easy, but I'm committed to moving forward." Mark listened intently and then shifted the conversation to a different topic. "I wanted to talk about something important," he said. "I've been working on a project that could benefit from your expertise. It's a new startup that aligns with the kind of work you've been doing. I thought it might be a good fit for you." The opportunity Mark presented was intriguing. It was a chance to collaborate on something new and innovative, building on the success I had experienced with Claire's venture. The prospect of joining another project was exciting, but it also came with its own set of challenges and risks. After much deliberation, I decided to explore the possibility further. I met with Mark and his team to discuss the details of the startup. The project was ambitious and offered a new set of challenges, but it also had the potential for significant growth and impact. As I delved into the new venture, I found myself reflecting on the lessons I had learned from my previous experiences. The new project was a fresh start, but it required careful planning and strategic thinking. I was determined to apply the insights I had gained to avoid repeating past mistakes and to ensure the success of this new endeavor. The work was demanding, and the stakes were high. Balancing my responsibilities with Claire's venture and the new startup required meticulous time management and unwavering focus. Despite the challenges, I felt invigorated by the opportunities and the chance to contribute to something meaningful. In the midst of the new project, I received another message from Victoria. Her words were thoughtful and conveyed a sense of closure. "I see that you're moving forward and making a difference," she wrote. "I wanted to let you know that I'm finding my own path and making progress as well. I hope you continue to find success and fulfillment." Victoria's message was a poignant reminder of our shared journey and the growth we had both achieved. It was a sign that while our paths had diverged, there was a mutual respect and acknowledgement of the challenges we had faced. As I navigated the complexities of the new startup, I remained focused on maintaining the integrity and resilience that had become central to my approach. The road to redemption was ongoing, but each step forward was a testament to the progress I had made. The new venture with Mark was a significant chapter in my professional journey. It offered fresh challenges and opportunities, and it was a chance to build on the successes I had achieved. With a renewed sense of purpose, I approached each day with determination and a commitment to making a positive impact. The future remained uncertain, but I was ready to embrace it with integrity and resolve. The lessons of the past had shaped me, and I was prepared to face whatever came next with a clear sense of purpose and a commitment to personal and professional growth. The new startup with Mark was progressing steadily, and the excitement of building something from scratch invigorated me. We had assembled a talented team, and the initial stages of development were showing promising results. Every day presented new challenges and opportunities, and I found myself deeply immersed in the work. Despite the positive trajectory, there were moments when the weight of the past seemed to resurface. Old doubts and insecurities would occasionally creep in, reminding me of the mistakes I had made and the consequences they had wrought. It was during one of these moments of introspection that I received a call from Claire. "Michael, I need to talk," she said, her voice tense. "There's been a complication with the venture. The investor is asking for more control than we initially agreed upon. It could jeopardize our entire project if we don't handle it carefully." The situation was critical. The investor's demands posed a serious risk to the stability of the project. Claire and I spent hours strategizing on how to address the issue. It was a delicate balance of negotiating terms while protecting the integrity of the venture. The pressure was immense, and the outcome would determine the future of the project. In the midst of this crisis, I found myself reflecting on the lessons I had learned from my past failures. The stakes were high, and the situation was reminiscent of the challenges I had faced before. This time, however, I was determined to approach the problem with the wisdom I had gained. Claire and I crafted a counterproposal that addressed the investor's concerns while safeguarding our interests. It was a tense negotiation process, but our preparation and commitment paid off. We managed to reach a compromise that allowed us to retain control over the core aspects of the project. The crisis was averted, and the venture continued on its path to success. The experience was a stark reminder of how easily things could unravel. It reinforced the importance of vigilance and adaptability in the face of challenges. I was grateful for the lessons I had learned and for the opportunity to apply them in real time. As the project stabilized, I found myself with more time to reflect on my personal journey. The startup with Mark had become a central focus of my life, but I was beginning to recognize the importance of finding a balance between work and personal fulfillment. The lessons from my past had taught me that true success was not just about professional achievements but also about personal growth and well-being. One evening, as I was unwinding after a long day, I received an unexpected visit from Victoria. She stood at my doorstep, looking both determined and nervous. We hadn't seen each other since our last meeting, and her presence was both surprising and significant. "I wanted to talk," Victoria said, stepping inside. "I've been following your progress. And I've been working on my own goals as well. I think it's time we had a conversation about where we both stand." We sat down, and Victoria shared her journey of recovery and growth. She spoke about the steps she had taken to rebuild her career and personal life. Her words were honest and reflective, and I could see the genuine effort she had made to move forward. Our conversation was a powerful exchange of experiences and insights. It was clear that we had both grown from our past struggles. And there was a mutual understanding of the challenges we had faced. While our paths had diverged, the dialogue offered a sense of closure and respect. Victoria's visit was a reminder of the connections that remained, even as our lives had changed. It was a sign of personal growth and the possibility of reconciliation on a different level. We parted ways with a sense of mutual respect and an acknowledgement of the progress we had both made. As I continued to navigate the complexities of the startup and my personal life, I felt a renewed sense of clarity. The journey had been arduous, but it had led to significant growth and understanding. The past no longer defined me; instead, it was a series of lessons that had shaped my approach to the future. With each day, I embraced the opportunities and challenges with a sense of purpose. The path ahead remained uncertain, but I was determined to face it with resilience and integrity. The experiences of the past had prepared me for the journey ahead, and I was ready to build a future defined by both personal and professional success. The new startup with Mark was progressing steadily, and the excitement of building something from scratch invigorated me. We had assembled a talented team, and the initial stages of development were showing promising results. Every day presented new challenges and opportunities, and I found myself deeply immersed in the work. Despite the positive trajectory, there were moments when the weight of the past seemed to resurface. Old doubts and insecurities would occasionally creep in, reminding me of the mistakes I had made and the consequences they had wrought. It was during one of these moments of introspection that I received a call from Claire. "Michael, I need to talk," she said, her voice tense. "There's been a complication with the venture. The investor is asking for more control than we initially agreed upon. It could jeopardize our entire project if we don't handle it carefully." The situation was critical. The investor's demands posed a serious risk to the stability of the project. Claire and I spent hours strategizing on how to address the issue. It was a delicate balance of negotiating terms while protecting the integrity of the venture. The pressure was immense, and the outcome would determine the future of the project. In the midst of this crisis, I found myself reflecting on the lessons I had learned from my past failures. The stakes were high, and the situation was reminiscent of the challenges I had faced before. This time, however, I was determined to approach the problem with the wisdom I had gained. Claire and I crafted a counterproposal that addressed the investor's concerns while safeguarding our interests. It was a tense negotiation process, but our preparation and commitment paid off. We managed to reach a compromise that allowed us to retain control over the core aspects of the project. The crisis was averted, and the venture continued on its path to success. The experience was a stark reminder of how easily things could unravel. It reinforced the importance of vigilance and adaptability in the face of challenges. I was grateful for the lessons I had learned and for the opportunity to apply them in real time. As the project stabilized, I found myself with more time to reflect on my personal journey. The startup with Mark had become a central focus of my life, but I was beginning to recognize the importance of finding a balance between work and personal fulfillment. The lessons from my past had taught me that true success was not just about professional achievements but also about personal growth and well-being. One evening, as I was unwinding after a long day, I received an unexpected visit from Victoria. She stood at my doorstep, looking both determined and nervous. We hadn't seen each other since our last meeting, and her presence was both surprising and significant. "I wanted to talk," Victoria said, stepping inside. "I've been following your progress, and I've been working on my own goals as well. I think it's time we had a conversation about where we both stand." We sat down, and Victoria shared her journey of recovery and growth. She spoke about the steps she had taken to rebuild her career and personal life. Her words were honest and reflective, and I could see the genuine effort she had made to move forward. Our conversation was a powerful exchange of experiences and insights. It was clear that we had both grown from our past struggles, and there was a mutual understanding of the challenges we had faced. While our paths had diverged, the dialogue offered a sense of closure and respect. Victoria's visit was a reminder of the connections that remained, even as our lives had changed. It was a sign of personal growth and the possibility of reconciliation on a different level. We parted ways with a sense of mutual respect and an acknowledgement of the progress we had both made. As I continued to navigate the complexities of the startup and my personal life, I felt a renewed sense of clarity. The journey had been arduous, but it had led to significant growth and understanding. The past no longer defined me; instead, it was a series of lessons that had shaped my approach to the future. With each day, I embraced the opportunities and challenges with a sense of purpose. The path ahead remained uncertain, but I was determined to face it with resilience and integrity. The experiences of the past had prepared me for the journey ahead, and I was ready to build a future defined by both personal and professional success. As the startup continued to gain traction, the dynamics of the business world grew ever more complex. The challenges were relentless, but so were the rewards. With each victory, we were faced with new tests, and the demands on my time and energy remained high. Despite the progress, I couldn't ignore the feeling of burnout that was beginning to set in. One day, while reviewing a critical financial report, I received an unexpected visit from my old friend, Mark. His face was lined with concern. "Michael, I've been noticing that you've been pushing yourself hard," he said. "I think it's time we talk about your well-being. Success is important, but so is your health." Mark's words struck a chord. The relentless pace had begun to take a toll on me, and I realized that I had been neglecting my own needs in the pursuit of professional success. I agreed to take some time off and reassess my priorities. I spent the following weeks focusing on self-care and reconnecting with aspects of my life that I had set aside. I began exercising regularly, revisited hobbies I had enjoyed in the past, and made an effort to reconnect with friends and family. The break was rejuvenating, and it gave me the perspective I needed to approach my work with renewed energy and clarity. During this period, I received an email from Claire with updates on the startup. "Things are running smoothly," she wrote. "We've made significant progress, and the team is performing exceptionally well. I hope you're taking the time you need." Claire's message was reassuring. It was a reminder that the success of the startup wasn't solely dependent on my constant involvement. The team was capable and resilient, and the business was in good hands. Her support underscored the importance of a balanced approach to leadership. With a refreshed perspective, I re-engaged with the startup, ready to tackle the next phase of its growth. The time off had helped me refocus on what truly mattered, both professionally and personally. I was committed to maintaining a healthier balance, understanding that my well-being was crucial to sustained success. One evening, as I was catching up on emails, I received a message from Victoria. Her note was warm and thoughtful. "I've been thinking about our conversations and the journey we've both been on." She wrote, "I hope you're finding the balance you need and that you're taking time for yourself." Victoria's words were a testament to the growth we had both experienced. They were a reminder of the importance of self-care and the positive changes we had made. Her support was appreciated and reinforced my commitment to a more balanced approach to life. As I resumed my responsibilities with the startup, I made a conscious effort to integrate the lessons I had learned into my daily routine. The focus was no longer solely on achieving professional milestones but also on fostering a fulfilling and sustainable lifestyle. The journey ahead was filled with both challenges and opportunities. I approached each day with a renewed sense of purpose and an understanding of the need for balance. The startup's success was a testament to resilience, and my personal growth was a reflection of the lessons learned along the way. In navigating the complexities of business and personal life, I embraced the importance of maintaining both professional excellence and personal well-being. The path forward was clear: to build on the successes achieved while ensuring that each step was taken with integrity and a focus on holistic fulfillment. The future was full of potential, and I was prepared to face it with both enthusiasm and a deep appreciation for the journey that had brought me here. With the startup stabilizing and my personal life back in balance, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges we had faced together as a team had only strengthened our resolve. We were poised for further growth, and the future looked promising. One morning, as I prepared for another busy day, I received a call from an unexpected source. It was an old colleague from my previous business, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. "Michael, I've been following your progress," he said. "I know things didn't end well before, but I wanted to reach out. I've got a new project that might be of interest to you." His offer was intriguing. The project he described was innovative and aligned with some of the goals I had in mind for the future. It was an opportunity to explore new avenues and potentially leverage my experiences in a new context. After careful consideration, I agreed to meet and discuss the project further. Our meeting was productive. The project was ambitious and promised to be a game-changer in its field. It was clear that the potential benefits outweighed the risks, and I felt a spark of excitement at the prospect of being involved in something groundbreaking. The challenge was enticing, and the opportunity seemed like the right fit for my skills and interests. As I delved into the new project, I began to see parallels between it and the startup with Mark. The strategic thinking and problem-solving skills I had developed were transferable and invaluable. The experience reaffirmed my belief in the importance of adaptability and learning from past experiences. However, the demands of managing both the new project and the startup soon began to test my limits. Balancing these responsibilities required meticulous planning and time management. I was stretched thin, but the exhilaration of tackling new challenges kept me motivated. During this period, I continued to focus on maintaining a healthy balance. The lessons I had learned about self-care and personal fulfillment were crucial in navigating the increased workload. I made a concerted effort to stay grounded and not let the pressures of work overshadow my well-being. One evening, as I reviewed progress reports for both projects, I received a thoughtful email from Claire. "I've been impressed with how you've managed to juggle multiple responsibilities," she wrote. "Your dedication is admirable. Just remember to take care of yourself as well. The success of our venture is a reflection of your hard work and resilience." Claire's message was a welcome reminder of the importance of balance. It was a testament to the supportive relationships that had developed through our shared experiences. Her encouragement reinforced my commitment to maintaining equilibrium between work and personal life. As the new project continued to develop, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me to this point. The past mistakes and challenges had shaped my approach, but they no longer defined me. Instead, they served as valuable lessons that had equipped me for future success. The path ahead was filled with both opportunities and uncertainties. I embraced each day with a sense of purpose and a commitment to leveraging my experiences to achieve new goals. The startup and the new project represented not only professional achievements but also a testament to personal growth and resilience. The future remained dynamic and full of potential. I was prepared to face whatever came next with a clear sense of direction and an unwavering focus on achieving both professional success and personal fulfillment. The journey had been transformative, and I was ready to continue building on the foundation of growth and resilience that had been established.